Thank you for joining us again. The major task before Nigeria's next president is how to fix the economy. And in the last 7 years, the economy has contracted due to several factors, according to economists. With the forecast of economic recession and slow growth looming this year, analysts say it will be a double jeopardy to combine that with the weight of debt that, of course, it's impacting on Nigeria revenue and resources. So let's get talking now. And of course, a continuation of our focus with our guest, Nelson Ekujimi, Policy and Public Affairs Analyst, joins us virtually for more. And of course, what the economists are saying about the presidential candidate and how they are addressing the issues in their manifesto. Thank you for joining us now, Mr. Ekujimi. We appreciate your time for coming again.
Thank you very much for having me. Good morning.
Now, let's start from the point, of course, we were making yesterday. Of course, we didn't, so we need to extensively address some of these issues. But let me start from you, your position personally about the mode of the campaign, all right, and how these presidential candidates are addressing these issues. You know, there are issues that have been raised, the issue of fiscal policy, getting the fiscal spending rightly, getting the monetary policy rightly, and the monetary policy has to do, of course, with managing, you know, anything that has to do with the flow of finances with regards to interest rate, and of course the forex exchange and all of that. Let's start from you. Which is most topmost for you out of this issue? The growing economy is also there. Economy contracted in the last quarter by 2.5% in the third quarter of 2022. So talk to us. Hello, can you hear me, Mr. Ekujimi? Well, I think we're having too early to have, you know, internet interruption there with Mr. Ekujimi. Okay, I learned you there now. Please talk to us.
Yes. Well, you know, like we always say, government is an octopus. Government does not have the luxury of abandoning one area of societal good for the other. Everything has to go pari passu. You know, and looking at the monetary policy, looking at the fiscal policy, I think it is important for us in terms of the fiscal policy to ensure that, you know, we widen the, you know, the tax net. And what do I mean by this? I mean there are still a lot of untapped revenues that government can, you know, can address on, you know, in bringing in more revenue for the state in order for government to be able to spend more on, you know, societal goods. And in this,
well, I think we've started losing connection with Mr. Ekujimi there. I don't know if you can hear me, but that point you're making, of course, interesting point.
Activities in the economy.
Yes.
And if you have more of, you know, productive activities going on in the economy, interest rates will definitely go down if government gets the monetary policy right. And what do I mean by the monetary policy is that the money is circulation. If the government, just like the President Central Bank is trying to do, in mopping up the excess liquidity in the system and, you know, bringing them within the confines of the banking sector, within the official sector, you know, the government as well as individuals or businesses will be able to access, you know, these funds, and, you know, the interest rates will also, you know, be able to go down. Most importantly, the government fiscal policy with regards to investing more in small-scale businesses, so that they'll be able to access more of soft loans, you know, to boost their business and widen the economic space. I think these are so many other factors that are what the government will have to look into as we go to the 2023 general election.
The campaign is getting intense. We do know that just few weeks to the main day or the D-Day, 25th, you know, February. But let's talk. How do we engage them? These issues perhaps are captured in some of the candidate manifesto. but how well are they addressing it? How detailed does average Nigerian understand some of these issues captured in their manifesto? So maybe I should ask you, how do you think we can begin to engage with them? Yes, they might have brilliant ideas of how to run the economy, but particularly there are some issues with regards to growing an average Nigerian earnings, income, disposable incomes is one issue there. One other issue is you also look at household spending as well. So how do we begin to engage these candidates for them to understand what Nigerians are passing through at the moment and what Nigerians need?
Well, I think that is partly what we are doing right now, in this discussion. And it is important for us to, as citizens, to go and, dust up those manifestos that have been rolled out by these candidates and introspect into them and ask basic questions whenever we have the opportunity of accessing these candidates. Don't forget, when the candidates come to a political rally, which is also part of the campaign, the voters or the electors have virtually no opportunity of asking questions. The campaign rallies are avenues for candidates to make only their own position known. But when we have interactive session, when we have debate, when we have power meeting, when we have engagement with critical stakeholders, I think those are avenues where the electorate will be able to ask questions. And also we should encourage professional bodies, civil society.
Hello, Mr. Kujumi.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, please. Hello, Mr. Kujumi. Please go ahead. Okay, I'm not sure if Kujumi can hear me, but I was trying to, to see. Yeah, go ahead, please. Please go ahead. Continue on your thoughts.
Yes, I said my thoughts are that the critical stakeholders in the economy need to have an interface with this candidate, need to have an interface with the manifesto. They are the ones wearing the shoes, and they know where it teaches them. We are talking about the rising cost of goods and services. How do we address them? What are the basic factors responsible for rising cost of goods and services? Just a few days ago, I was suspecting, and when a lot of times we make do with this excuse of it is because of the exchanges. We also must not lose sight. We must also not lose focus of the multiple taxation that goes on at the local level. A local government, state government, a vehicle carrying agricultural goods from, say, Boko in Benue State to, say, Ibadan would have spent almost half of the cost of producing that good in terms of taxes. These are critical policies that have to be addressed. That how do we harmonize the taxation on goods and services that the average farmer or the average importer or the average producer is not overtaxed? Because when these taxes when the entrepreneur or the businessman is taxed, the person that bears the final brunt is the end time consumer, which is here and you on the street. So these are so many other factors that what we expect the manufacturers themselves to say, come government, presidential candidate party A. This is what we manufacturers are facing. How do you address it to ensure that the productive capacity of the Nigerian state is enhanced? Today, maybe we're at about 23%. How do we gravitate, higher, geometrically? Maybe in the next 6 months, we want to say the productive capacity of the economy will be increased, geometrically, say, maybe by 10% in addition. So I expect that as the town meeting goes on, as the candidates meet the critical stakeholders, as the media also interface with these candidates, I believe our responsibility is to take up their manifesto and look at those critical issues that affect the day-to-day living of the average Nigerian. And in introspecting into the manifesto is able to challenge the candidate that, you have said this is the position of the farmers. Also, we must encourage the stakeholders to come up with position papers on the way forward with regard to their business, with regard to their in that way, we'll be able to arrive at the meeting point, and we'll be able to start a concrete path and not be speaking theoretically to this problem.
Okay, interesting one there. Interesting one there. But when you look at their manifesto, really, the manifestos of this candidate, especially the top three candidates, you have Atiku Abubakar of the PDP, you have the Ahmed Tinubu of the APC, and you have Labour Party's Peter Obi. Have you seen, from what you painted, does their manifesto capture the picture you just painted now? Because anyone who wins on February 25th, will have to deal with some of the issues we've raised. Hello, Mr. Akujumi. Hello, Mr. Akujumi. Can you hear me?
Oh, please come again. I lost you along the line. I lost you.
Okay.
Please come again.
So I was asking you that you've raised very important issues here on the table, but when you look through their manifesto, especially the top three candidates, Labour Party's APC, PDP's Abubakar Atiku, and of course you have APC's Tinubu as well. So how well do you think when you look through their manifesto, does it address some of these issues you put on the table? Because anyone who wins will have to, inherit to deal with these issues that you've raised.
Well, looking at the manifesto could be, the manifesto, like we all agree, is a roadmap. But in charting that roadmap, we need to ask the candidate, this road that we want to traverse, are we going to go by bicycle? Are we going to go by motorcycle? Are we going to go by car? Are we going to go by, maybe by ship or by railway or by airplane? So these are the concrete questions we need to address, in interacting with this candidate. That look, this journey is a journey of 100 kilometers. What is the fuel level of our car? How do we source enough petrol, or is it diesel we are using? How do we navigate the bad portions of the road, such that our vehicle will not break down on the road? I'm talking in hyperbole now. So, as much as the candidates have brought out their manifesto that this is the way they want to go, we should ask for the concrete, plan. That you have told us now that you are going from Lagos to Ibadan. How are we doing?
Right.
Is our vehicle in good shape?
Right. Interesting days ahead. But let's speak to, I want you to speak to these, issues. Some of the candidates, especially the top three candidates, disagree on some topical issues or debate. For instance, they agree on subsidy removal. They all agree on subsidy removal. So number one question is, what should we be looking at? Because as soon as they'll be by the time they get into the office, maybe 1 month into the government or power, they'll have to inherit a subsidy removal. So what should we be looking at? Can you hear me, Mr. Akujumi?
I can hear you now.
Yeah.
So I can hear you now.
Okay, so I was asking you, as we wrap up, and I was asking you that these top candidates, especially the top three candidates, they agree on some issues and they disagree in some other areas. For instance, they agree on subsidy removal. So what should be done before removing subsidy? What should be put in? Are there preparations that should be, or measures that should be put in place? Because by the time they come into office, they will have to inherit a very harsh economy created by the result of impact of subsidy removal. That's one. Second is that they disagree in terms of debt, right? Tinubu said it's going to borrow more and then spend, but Obi doesn't agree. The Labour Party guy does not agree that there has to be borrowing. He was talking about cost or cutting costs of governance as well. But Atiku also two different lines. So how do we reconcile these? These are issues. And which one is ideal? Let's wrap up now. Hello, can you hear me? Well, I guess Mr. Ekujimi is really having a tough time hearing me now. But if you can hear me, I just want us to wrap up on this note. Which one do you think is ideal for an economy that is still, struggling to sustain its growth in the new year?
Okay, first and foremost, you and I agree, and it's a clarion call by all Nigerians that there is need to remove subsidy, like to abolish the subsidy regime. And in abolishing the subsidy regime, we'll be able to free more funds for government at all tiers. Don't forget, the subsidy regime is the great fight on the resources of the state at the three tiers of government. By freeing the subsidy regime, the federal, the state government, as well as the local government, will have more funds to be able to carry out governmental activities. All the talking about what are the measures they are putting in place. And it is also a fact that one of the measures by the subsidy has to go is because we are looking at the fact that around the middle of the year, the local refineries that are becoming for years gone by will come full stream. And in this way, we won't have to use our scarce foreign exchange to be importing petroleum products that is subsidized. And in that way, the forex that the government could have used in providing basic critical infrastructure will now be available. Then with this issue of borrowing, I think it is that time we even have a discussion around borrowing. A lot of times people have made borrowing to look as if borrowing has become a pandemic. For me, as an economist, there is no crime in borrowing if borrowing is for developmental purposes. If borrowing is something that can take care of your tomorrow. For example, if you have borrowed money to construct roads, the cost of constructing a road today cannot be comparable to the cost of constructing that road maybe in 10 years' time. Anywhere in the world, the prices of goods and services are not staying on the spot; they are moving because of the economic variables that Nigeria is also not exempted from.
Okay.
If we are not borrowing to feed, if we are not borrowing to do one bed party, if we are not borrowing to engage in frivolity, I think borrowing is a very vegetable means of raising revenue, whether as a government or as an individual or as a business. So set up businesses to borrow money.
Okay, but just one moment in 30 seconds. But do you think the current, Nigeria debt profile is sustainable?
Absolutely, it is very, very sustainable because we have the resources to pay back those loans we have borrowed. It is absolutely sustainable.
Although some people may disagree with you because at the moment Nigeria is struggling to even servicing those debts. If you say it's sustainable.
The question that you ask, if the government is not borrowing, where will the government get money or funds to execute programs? Are the citizens willing to be taxed at this present economic activity? So we need to have a discussion around this issue. If the state government is not borrow, should government go and print money? Does government print money anywhere in the world? Government has to source revenue from either taxation, revenue from sales of assets, or by borrowing.
Okay, it's
so
all right.
If we are not borrowing, where are we going to get funds? If we say the economic situation does not warrant raising taxes, and we are yet to plug those loopholes in the taxation system, in this area, government cannot hold the term and allow the country to go come at it. So government must be seen to be doing something that will affect the living standards of the people as well as their well-being.
Okay, I think we should leave it there, but I believe that some economists, believe otherwise, though. But maybe we should leave it out there for next conversation. Thank you so much, Delsin Ekujimi, policy and public affairs analyst. We appreciate you as always on the show.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
Yeah. And in our next conversation after this break, iBrandTV takes a look at the power sector in the last 7 years under the current regime and the tax ahead of the next administration as the transmission company of Nigeria says it raises power transmission capacity to 8,100 megawatts in 70 years. Well, if that is true, of course, we'll look at some burning issues in our next conversation. Please stay with us.